recently we had the massive balance patch, and it did way more than the actual expansion launch did. In this video, we'll be going over the best decks to climb to Legend since then, and yeah, a lot has changed. So yeah, let's go over them. But before we do that, I do want to mention one thing I do mention on stream often as well, is that with the recent patch, a lot of nerfs, what you can do is to find all the nerfs in one easy trick is type refund in your collection manager right here. And you'll see every card that's being nerfed, and make sure to, of course, disenchant all of these. There's no downside to doing it. You get the full dust back. If you ever want to craft them again, you can craft it for the dust you get back. So make sure to disenchant them all, because in less than 2 weeks, it's always 2 weeks after a patch, you don't get the refunds anymore. So make sure to do it in time, and yeah, get that dust, and then you can choose one of these decks maybe that you want to be crafting with all the dust you might have gotten back, because some people have gotten over 20,000 dust back. It's pretty incredible. Anyway, let's get started with the first deck that we have here. Is surprisingly looks like the best deck at the moment. It's the Hagatha Shaman, and yeah, we've seen many different versions of this in the past few months, but this seems to be the version right now. And we used to call this Nebula Shaman, but yeah, it's no longer running Nebula. It's a bit more aggressive, which is part due to the Murden that we're running for the High King's Hammer, which is of course incredible at winning games. That's why instead of like Nebula, we have Furious Files now for damage. We got Alakir for the extra damage, and of course this deck has a pretty strong like early mid game kind of start because of all the buffs with stuff like Growth It and the Bumbling Bell. They're really good if you buff them with cards like the Flight of the Firehawk or Turbulence. You can get some pretty incredible starts with a ton of stats, and a kind of transition to a mid game where you go Hagatha into Frosty Core. It's incredible, into the High King's Hammer, and then by then often yeah, you're in a pretty good spot. And in a late game you can always have a Shadow Block combo with yeah, any of the battle cries. You can get the triple Wish Upon a Star, so your Alakir suddenly is 9 damage, if not more, with the draw again. So yeah, pretty incredible deck at the moment. Really good if you want to climb to Legend. And the second deck is a pretty familiar one. It's the Aggro Demon Hunter. Now it did get a little bit of an upgrade with the last expansion, is that the Perennial Serpent looks pretty good in the deck. A 4-mana 7/9 goes really well because you have a bunch of dormant stuff. We're even playing the Slumbering Sprite, which yeah, I haven't really seen play until now, but in Demon Hunter actually it makes the most sense because they're your only class with a cheap hero power. The rest of the deck, yeah, stayed pretty similar. Pretty much the whole deck just is either some early game with the 1-drops we got there, even both of them nerfed, the Slither Spear in the battlefield. You still want to play him, and yeah, pretty much the entire deck just deals damage, and yeah, it wins really, really fast. Then one of the sort of new decks that came out of the expansion, like we've seen this before, but feels like this is the first time this build is actually viable. It's the Dragon Warrior, and it had a lot of the good new cards. Of course, we got the Cursory Strike, which is played in a lot of warrior decks. We have the Stadium Announcer, Logosh, together with the other two Bloodfighters, and yeah, it's pretty good in this deck. You don't really want to probably play it in other decks right now, but in a deck like this, it's really nice because you can advance your game plan. That is just get on board early. This deck can snowball like crazy, especially if you start with Sanguine Depths into the Stone Carver. I mean, I've lost to this before. It can be a 5/5 on turn 2, and then it keeps buffing itself over and over, and if you don't clear it once, yeah, probably not going to clear it afterwards. But just a very strong deck. It wins real fast. I got a video on it as well on my channel. There's slightly different build. Seems like now Shadow Flame Suffusion is slightly better than the Curator package, but nothing inherently changed about the game plan, and just it's still super strong if you want to climb. Then we have the Protoss Priest. Yeah, this deck has been around for a little while, I would say, and yeah, it's still good. The recent balance patch, of course, Resuscitate went to 6 mana, but with all the other decks getting nerfed, it didn't really lose in power at all. So yeah, that's good if you want to play Protoss Priest, just the same as before, right? Get those sentries on board, get them back with Resuscitate, and maybe copy them with Hallucination, and then play some cheap motherships. And yeah, if you haven't won with the aggro starts yet, then definitely the mothership will seal the deal, and it's just an incredible mid-late game card for you to win the game with. One of the big winners of the patch was this Discover Hunter, which saw no cards being nerfed, and you have everything around it getting nerfed, of course. This deck had to get better, and it's seeing a lot of play. And yeah, there's a pretty difficult deck to play though, and there's not really one win condition actually you have in this deck. People keep asking me that on stream. There's a lot of different ways to win, Of course, we have one of the examples for Winkles is Neri. Now you can do like 48 or damage or more with it, even with if you get the damage from Grifta, and then with the Scout and the Pupil, you can get tons and tons of damage. It can get pretty crazy. Also, of course, it's Discover Hunter, so the Rengari Scout with a bunch of cards can be incredible. For example, getting like double Incendius can be a ton of damage. Getting twice the Ranger General Sylvanas can be great at dealing with the board, getting on board. And then we have the Alien Counters, 0 mana Talls that, of course, you can also copy with the Pupil again. And then, Nayel is an incredible card, because getting a free tracking basically every turn is pretty insane. Definitely an amazing card. And in this build, we're also running DLE, so that's why there's a Wisp. If you're wondering why there's a Wisp in any deck list, the answer is usually Elise. And it's the same here, just incredible card in pretty much any deck. Then another winner of the balance patch has been the Peddler Demon Hunter. And as the name says, it's all about the Spirit Peddler and getting a bunch of them back. You can get 2 of them back with the Felbat, and then get a couple more back with the Return Policy, and then make all the expensive cards you got, of course, free or very cheap. And that is pretty strong. Now, it's also running Broxigar, and it's not the most incredible card. It's like the X of Snares is really good, and you make your deck basically a 29 card deck. But the Portal, I think I've seen it once, the entire expansion being played, and I still won against the Broxigar. So not the best card, but you kind of need it for the Elise as well. And the weapon is just really good. Lifesteal, 3 mana, and basically draw 2 cards often. That's good enough to see it being played. Better than a Wisp for sure. And the rest just has some pretty incredible late game. We're still running the Fire even after the double nerf. Because even at 4 mana, it's a pretty good card. And this deck really becomes incredible once you get that Felbat back, and you just make everything here in the late game cost 0. And most decks will not be able to keep up with this deck. Then we have the Blood, and Holy Death Knight. And if this deck list looks familiar, then you are right. It does look very familiar. It's pretty much the same deck as before. It's still good. Sanguine got nerfed to 5, which of course hurts it a bit. But overall, all the early game, all the late game, it's still there. Although, again, the Fire also got nerfed, but it's still a good card. Now I'm looking at the list here, I'm seeing Shalanoso here, which she used to play to enable the Elise, of course. But now I think with Fire going to 10, it might be a cuttable card. We'll see if people are going to try and do that. But it might be an idea. But other than that, this list is exactly the same as before. Then let's get to some good aggro decks that are really fast at climbing, starting with the Aggro Paladin. You might not see this a lot, but it's putting up good stats, and wins very fast because it snowballs really, really fast. If you've ever faced this, you'll know it, especially with cards like the Busy Bot on all these cheap minions into one of the buffs like Crusader or a Flash Sale. Once you fall behind to this deck, it's over pretty fast. It's just really, really good at getting on board. And most decks just can't deal with those early boards. They take a couple of turns to come online, and by then this deck has already won. So if you want to play one of the fastest decks, then this deck is the one for you. And another new, really fast deck is this No Hand Hunter. And that's called that way because it's playing all the new cards. It has a deck with a ton of new cards. First of all, we got the Keldrai Fletcher, which is of course incredible in your mulligan. Because it's, if you go first, he plays a 1, you get a free hero power. You got the Arrow Retriever, so you can just play all your cards and then draw 3 again with that one. And we have also the Ranger General Sylvanas in this because, it turns out it's a pretty good card, Sylvanas. And we even have the Wormhole, not a card I expected to see play, but it can go face. I've had it multiple times that this one hit my face for 7 with the new Sandworm. So if you get that, it's pretty good. And just a very fast deck, and you have some finishing potential as well, right? We got Huffer here, we got Precise Shot, possibly dealing 5, and even Rock Skipper, Mixologist for the 3 damage there, which you can also then copy the damage with the Neri right here. Also, don't forget about this card. It's usually played for spells casting twice, but in aggro list like this, don't forget it doubles the 1-cost minion stat. So a Catch of the Day is a 6/6, a Vicious Slither Spear is a 2/6, so just don't forget about that one. It can really win the game early on tempo. And then another really fast deck we got there is the Shredslock, a completely new deck, of course, this expansion. And it's so fast because it has those insane stats early on. Of course, just like with the Dragon Warrior, we got the Gift Wrap Whelp, but all the new Shreds card, they can win pretty fast. We got the Tachyon Barrage, which of course, if you get this early with double Coyote, it's pretty insane. We got the 2 mana 4/4 or 5/5 if you buffed it with the Whelp. We got the 4 mana 7/7 over here, if I can find it, Fate Breaker. 5 mana 10/10, some pretty incredible stats that you can curve into. And then also we're running now the Party Planner Vona, because you're taking a lot of damage with those cards, of course, with those stretch. So this seems to be a card you want to include now, though. Yeah, if you don't have it, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You can play something else, but right now this seems to be the best list. Then the second Protoss list we have is for Mage, and yeah, Terrans, they don't really see a whole lot of play anymore, but Protoss, initially the weakest faction of the three, has actually survived for the longest. And yeah, Protoss Mage, it's pretty much the same as before. The one change though is that we're now running a Chronolord Deus instead of one Brewmaster. So you can go, of course, the Deus plus potentially, if you can, double Colossus. And yeah, then you deal 8 times the damage you see on the card. And if that's 10 damage on it, yeah, 80 damage, it wins most matches. And besides that, yeah, you just try to play, of course, yeah, your Protoss cards to get there, try to discover them with Tide Pulls, and try and survive with cards like Sea Breeze, Chalice, and or your other removal to just stay alive to get to the late game, because that late game, it is pretty incredible. And the second deck we have for Death Knight is the Herenn Death Knight. Now, it's also Blood, Unholy, but it's pretty different from the previous one, because of course we're playing the late game Death Rattle package with Herenn. So we got the Awakener of Souls, which can resurrect either the Travel Security or the Bonsam. So there have been some lists that go all in on Bonsam. I've tried it, but it's probably better to just go with the Travel Security as well, because you don't want to have a game where you don't have Bonsam, then you don't get Awakener, resummon anything, and that isn't great. It's also running another new card here, the Whelp of the Infinite, just a very annoying card, and yeah, it's also because you can't run Blob of Tar, because there's a Death Rattle. That's why you're seeing a card like Ancient Raptor, which definitely isn't better than the Dreadhound Handler, but it does not have a Death Rattle on the card, so it's just better for the Umbra, so that can bring back all the big Death Rattles and not just a 1/1. And outside of that, yeah, just the same kind of as before. We've seen the Travel Security Awakener combination before, and you just try to get that and resurrect it, and then just have a unclearable board for the opponent, and then you win with those big, often 8 drops. And the second Paladin deck we have here is the Aggro Paladin. Now, this saw a bit of play as well before the patch, and it did get hit. Of course, the Metal Detector now gets you only 1 coin, which does hurt it a little bit, because you do want to get that Gale Win out earlier. And also, yeah, the list has changed a little bit. No longer we're running Fire Rack or the Dorian to cheat it out, but now we're running instead cards like Cardboard Golem. So you get, yeah, 1 more turn of those auras, which is obviously incredible with that Gelbin if you get all those auras at once. And the auras we have with Gelbin are, of course, the 2 we have with the Gnomish and the Mechatork aura. We got the Chronological aura, so you actually get the board. We got the Crusader aura and the Resistance aura, because, yeah, the Resistance aura, it's really annoying for the opponent, and yeah, it can help you defend your board, so it can attack and win with that Crusader aura. Then we have a Rogue deck, and Rogue is definitely not dead. Now, there's a few lists that are better at High Legend, but this seems to be the good list to climb until Legend if you want to be playing Rogue. And it's running the new Garona Health Orcan, of course, to get that Kingslayers, because that's a great weapon to tutor your other legendaries. And you only have 2 other legendaries in this deck, actually, which are Garona and the Ziliax. So if you get the Kingslayers, you always have the Ziliax on curve. And yeah, this one is very hard to clear. It's a 7 health 10 attack minion the first time, of course, so that usually survives. And then outside of that, just a very aggressive list. Lots of early game just there to push damage. Of course, cards like Foxy Fraud Flashback or Preparation Flashback, they can get on board pretty fast, push that damage. And then we have some finishers with the Viscerate here, the SI7 agent even, which is a lot better now that it's 3 damage. And we even have a Deja Vu to maybe steal some fun cards from your opponent and yeah, win with those. The second warrior deck we have today is a very different one from the Dragon Warrior. It's the Quest Warrior. Now, it did get hit twice, of course, with the nerfs. First of all, we got Ancient of Yore nerfed, but it still seems like you want this card. Still seems just good enough to play. Yeah, otherwise you just kind of lack in the mid game some playable cards. However, it seems like the Chemical Spill build with Hydration Station, Tortilla, and so on is not quite the best anymore. So we're kind of reverting back to the non-hydration list. So you can run Ceaseless as well, which is of course great. The Ziliax, it's kind of better by itself than the Unkiliax, without the Reborn though this time. And it's running a lot of removals, so it's obviously very good at surviving a bunch of those aggro lists. Tons of armor gain. the new cards like Unleash the Crocolisk. And late game, it pretty much always wins, because even without the Murozond, I don't think you need Murozond. Like, I've played it, I've played without it, and I've never felt like I really needed it, because most of the time, yeah, if you get the quest done with Meren, there's always going to be an opportunity to win the game through Time Warp. You don't really need a guaranteed win con with it, because generally Time Warp already guarantees a win, but you can run it if you want to get that infinite damage. So if you want to be playing Control, this is one of the better lists around. Then the final deck I got for you today is probably the worst list I got here, but it did look actually playable, so that's why I wanted to put it here. It's the Aviana Druid, and well, it's all about the Aviana. Of course, you don't really have another win con. It's all about getting Aviana on board as soon as possible, then drawing those 1-mana legendaries with all the tutors you got. You got quite a few. You got the Ungoro Brochure, you've got the Story of Barnabas, you got Reforestation, just tons of cards to draw here as well. Games are actually over pretty quickly, because yeah, if you get good legendaries early on, most decks can't deal with it, but yeah, if you get bad legendaries, or you somehow don't even get Aviana quickly on board, then yeah, the game is just over, and you just lose the game. But it seems viable right now. It had over 50% win rate, so if you want to try a deck with Aviana, then this is the list for you. And those are all the lists I got for you. Of course, deck codes are always in the description of the video if you want to copy any of these lists. And please let me know in the comments which list do you plan on trying from all these decks. If the video was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and until next time.